how-to video for planting pumpkins, two different varieties, a giant pumpkin and some cute little decorative pumpkins. But before I jump into that how-to video, I wanted to tell you about why growing pumpkins is so special to me. My dad, who's the one that instilled a love of gardening in my heart for me, has grown giant pumpkins for about 10 years now. And last year he had a few extra starts and offered me one, and I decided to grow a giant pumpkin down in our community garden. And with the help of some friends, keeping it watered and fertilized, I grew a giant pumpkin last year. It wasn't so giant that I couldn't bring it home to my house, but my husband and I brought it back to the house, and we're just so thrilled to have this beautiful pumpkin to display for our neighbors. So before I jump into the how-to, I'm going to show you some great pictures of a little bit of pumpkin history in my family, and then I'll show you how I'm going to plant those pumpkins today. Thanks for watching. How-to video started. I'll be planting two varieties of pumpkins today. I've got my giant pumpkin seed that I harvested from my pumpkins from last year. These are a nice big seed. I'll be showing you a little bit closer up of how to pick a good seed. And then I also have these adorable little mini pumpkin blends that I'll be growing for some decorations around the house for this fall. So I also have, to grow the giant pumpkins, 2 peat pots. I'll be growing 2 plants. I'm going to plant 2 seeds per pot. And then once these have developed some true leaves, I'm going to decide which plant I'm going to actually use in the peat patch, the pumpkin patch. Then for the mini pumpkins, I've just got plastic 4-inch pots that I'll be reusing. Now, if you're a really good gardener, you would clean these and maybe even sanitize them with a little bleach solution, but I'm actually running pretty far behind on getting these pumpkins started. I should have started them probably about 3 weeks ago in early April, and right now, today's May 3rd, so I'm just getting it started. I also have this bag of black gold potting mix, and again, I probably should be using a specific seed starting mix, but I don't have any right now, and I need to get this happening. So this potting mix will also do just fine for the job. All right, now what I have here that looks a little unusual is some sandpaper, and I'm going to be using that to sand the edges of those giant pumpkin seeds, but I'll get more into that in just a little bit. So let's start off with planting the giant pumpkin seeds, and then I'll show you how to plant those little mini pumpkins. When selecting your giant pumpkin seed, you want to make sure you're picking the best seeds of what you got. I want to show you a few seeds that are not so good, and then I'll show you the ones that I chose. So this seed here has this little speck of black, maybe a little bit of mold on it or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it was there pretty much since right after I dried the seed. Another seed that I decided not to choose is this seed right here. It's a little bit thin and not quite as filled out and thick as the other seeds. The 4 seeds that I decided to plant today are nice and full. They don't have any blemishes on them. They do have this little crack in this very outer layer, but that's not a big deal. So the first step of what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the edges of these seeds, and that's going to allow some moisture to get into the seed. Now, when you've got a seed, there is going to be a particular way that the root is going to grow out of the seed. This pointy end right here is where the root grows, and then the leaves will push this rounded top part out of the soil. Just to help give you a better visual on that, I want to show you my sunflower starts. So these sunflower starts right now still have the husk, the shell of the seed on there, and you can see that the part, let me just dust a little bit of that dirt off. The part of the seed that is facing down is the pointier end, and the part of the seed that is facing up, that's still on top of that leaf there, is the rounded end. So that's going to hold true for a lot of all your squashes and seeds that have this shape. Seeds with other shapes, more of a rounded spherical shape, or like a beet or something like that, they're not going to follow that same pattern. But with seeds that have those shapes, you will see that hold true. So I've got some sandpaper here. This is just a fine grit, 220 grit. And I'm going to sand the edges of the seed, not the tip of the seed or the top of the seed. So before I plant them, I'm going to sand those down. And that way it's going to allow some moisture to get into the seed a little bit quicker. You're not going to sand them all the way through, but just enough so that you can start seeing the inner color change right there. So I'm going to do that to the edges of all these seeds, and then we'll get them planted. All right, now I've got the edges of these sanded, just to show you close up on a couple of them what it looks like, and that's going to allow the water to get into the seed a little bit quicker. So I'm going to fill my peat pots with some soil here. I'm just going to scoop it up. I've already labeled the peat pots just right on the outside with a marker. Super easy. Before I plant my seeds, I'm actually going to water the soil. I really like watering the soil before seeding the seeds into the soil, just because it helps the seeds helps them be at the spot where I want them to be. Because if you water it afterwards, sometimes it pushes the soil down and makes your seed higher up in the soil than you really want. All right, the soil is watered. Now I'm actually going to plant 2 seeds per pot. You really could, and if you were like a really competitive pumpkin grower, you would probably just do 1 per pot and then choose the one you like best anyways, which I have 2 pots, so I'm kind of doing that anyways, but I decided just to do 2 per pot. So remember, the pointy end is the root end. So we're going to put the pointy end down. I'm going to just poke 2 little holes down to not quite my second knuckle, but past my first knuckle. And I'm going to put those seeds down in there. You can see they're not in there super deep. After that, just going to give them a little bit of cover up. Okay, so the next step for these guys is going to be getting into a nice warm place. And I'll show you that after I get my little mini pumpkins started. So the mini pumpkins, I'm going to follow the same procedure, except for those, these seeds are a lot smaller. They're coming from smaller pumpkins, so it makes sense that the seeds are smaller. And I'm not going to file down the edges of these because I'm not as concerned about their growth and how quickly they're germinating. But I am going to plant them in the same way. I'm going to plant the pointy end down, and I'm going to plant 2 per pot. I've got 6 pots I'm going to fill up because I'm going to be growing quite a few of these. So I'm going to just get going over here. All right, guys, I got all the seeds planted. They are tucked in the soil, ready to start germinating. A lot of times when I germinate my seeds, I'll put them on a tray like this, and I actually put them on top of my dryer because in my laundry room, that's one of my very few south-facing windows, and it gets pretty warm in the laundry room because it's a small room. It has a heater vent, and sitting on top of the dryer gives it a little bit of extra warmth. I also start a lot of seeds just right underneath my grow lights. A lot of seeds like to be warm when they germinate, and then once they're germinated, I will bring them out here under my grow lights, but sometimes I run out of space in that tiny little spot that I have, and I just germinate them right underneath the light. Every plant has a little bit of a different need, so I kind of rotate which ones I do what with, but these pumpkins are going to get the deluxe treatment inside my oven light. So I'm just going to show you a little bit more here at my seed starting setup, and then we're going to take these puppies inside and put them in the oven. So here on the top of my seed starting setup, I've got most of my tomatoes. These tomatoes I've grown from seed and germinated them inside in the laundry room. These have been potted up. I originally started them in a small 6-cell container, but they are growing away and soon will be ready to go outside. Down here on this shelf, I've got all sorts of different things. I've got zinnias, I've got bachelors, whoops, sorry, let me get a little closer here. I've got bachelor's buttons, I've got all sorts of different winter squashes, summer squashes. In the back there, you can see some sunflowers, basil, some sweet alyssum. And down here on the bottom, it's kind of hard to see back there. I've got some butternut squashes, and these ones I'm just doing germinating directly underneath the grow light, so they're not super warm. In here, I've got some herbs that are taking a while. That lavender is not doing so hot. And then in the back, I've got more winter squash and some salvia. Over here, I've got coleus that has been growing forever, rosemary, more basil, some ornamental blue fescue, my tomatillos, some cosmos, my green peppers, and some more rosemary cuttings back there. All right, I just had to give you that quick tour of my seed starting setup because a lot of these things are going to be heading out to the yard soon, so I wanted to show you how those seedlings are growing. But these pumpkins are heading to the oven. Let's go. All right, I've got all my seeds potted up. They're on a nice tray and they're ready to get warm and germinate. Now remember, you're not actually turning your oven on. You're just turning on the oven light. And the heat from the oven light will provide them a nice little germination chamber to germinate. And once they've started germinating, I'm going to take them out of this oven and I'm going to put them underneath my grow lights. There's a ton of different ways to grow pumpkins and to start their seeds. Lots of different competitive pumpkin growers have their very strict methods. A lot of people will germinate them in a wet paper towel in a heat controlled environment, but this is the way that my dad does it, so this is the way I'm gonna do it. I can't wait to show you once they've germinated and once my giant pumpkin has grown. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and click the like button. If you want to see more videos about garden life here in the Puget Sound, please click subscribe, because soon we're going to be taking these pumpkins to the community garden, which I can't wait to show you. Have a great day.